When I was little, Augustine made me his little follower for life. After growing up, he found a goddess and warned me, Jane, can you please stop bothering me for once in your life? Stay away from me, I get annoyed just seeing you. My dad, scared of upsetting Augustine, hurriedly sent me abroad. After a long time, he suddenly asked about me. My dad swore, young Master Han, don't worry, I've married her off, so she won't bother you anymore. The usually calm and composed Han family's heir totally lost it in public. Chapter 1. Augustine Han is the heir of the Han family. The Lin family is just one of the many small families living off the Han family. The only reason I got close to Augustine was thanks to my ancestors' good deeds. My great-grandfather and Augustine's great-grandfather were tight. They found a prime feng shui spot and built their houses right next to each other. That prime piece of land is now a villa district, and the houses have been renovated by their descendants into modern mansions. I was born Augustine's next-door neighbor. Like they say, the pavilion close to the water gets the moon first. While other families were scrambling to get close to Augustine, I was already his little follower. I like being his little follower because if you get on good terms with Augustine, the Han family will take care of the Lin family's business. Dad always tells me to stick close to Augustine, obey him in everything, read his moods, and never make him angry, so the Han family will keep looking out for the Lin family's business. I have tons of rivals. Every family wants to send their daughter to be close to Augustine. Augustine never says no to anyone, but my spot is rock solid. Whenever those girls pick on me, Augustine always kicks them out. The one he just kicked out recently was Jenny. Trip to the Maldives. Jenny was lying on a beach chair in a bikini, lazily soaking up the sun. Jane, we're out of juice. I immediately caught on and said with a smile, okay, juice is coming right up. I ran off to grab the juice, and on the way back, I heard her complaining to Augustine, why do you always bring Jane along whenever we go out? Augustine brushed it off. If she wants to come, she comes. Hee hee. Augustine always brings me wherever he goes. Just like since we were kids. I happily held up 2 cups of juice and set them down on the little table between us. Juice. Enjoy. Jenny gave me a fierce glare. Humph. I just love how she looks so annoyed by me but can't do anything about it. Jenny and I are classmates, so I know exactly what she's like. So when she secretly ditched me on the sightseeing bus, I wasn't surprised at all. The thing is, I didn't know the place, couldn't speak the language, had no phone, and no matter how long I walked, I couldn't find my way back to the hotel. In the end, I just squatted by the roadside and cried, my eyes full of tears and my vision blurry. Through the blur, a lollipop appeared in my view, tears in my eyes. I suddenly burst out with joy. Augustine brother. Seeing the lollipop, I knew right away it was him. When I was little, my parents were often away, and I'd cry so much that I disturbed the neighbors at the Han family's place. Augustine Han always cheered me up with lollipops. Back at the hotel, no surprise, Jenny left. From then on, Jenny was on Augustine's blacklist. Jenny's family business pretty much fell apart too. He has a steady flow of female companions, but I'm the rock-solid Jane. Hee 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 hee. I was feeling pretty proud, thinking I'd be with Augustine for life. But turns out, I was way too naive. Chapter 02. After college, Augustine had his eye on the rich girl Daniela's son. The Sun family was just as powerful as the Han family. Daniela's personality, education, background, figure, looks, and degree, everything was perfect. She was the real goddess. Daniela didn't show the usual strong interest in Augustine like other girls did. When Augustine reached out to Daniela, it wasn't nearly as easy as before. Daniela's refusal only made him more interested and seriously fired up his urge to conquer. He launched a full-on attack on Daniela. He splurged on flashy watches, bags, and cars. But Daniela was totally unfazed. Then he switched to a softer approach, getting up early to buy breakfast for his goddess, having lunch together, and handling every little detail personally, running errands and giving it his all, just like I do for him. I'm almost never seen without Augustine. Daniela also has a sidekick, her cousin Diana. Diana and I stood outside the fancy French restaurant, staring each other down. Finally, the handsome guys and pretty girls came out after dinner. Daniela thanked Augustine. her thin lips parting slightly. Thanks for the dinner. I see your sincerity, but it's still not enough. Diana flipped me off with a disgusted look, then happily tagged along with Daniela. Augustine frowned, but since Diana was Daniela's cousin, he didn't say a word. Daniela really is the golden girl. She was so perfect that even a single strand of her hair could pull you in. I tore my eyes away from Daniela's graceful back and turned to Augustine. His gaze stayed fixed on that beautiful figure in the distance, eyes dark and glittering with quiet determination. Over the weekend, Augustine set up a sailing trip and invited Daniela along. There was a guy with Daniela. Augustine gave a fake smile, pointed at the guy, and asked, "Who's he?" Daniela smiled like a gentle spring breeze, warm and soothing. "Honestly, even I was drooling over her, and I'm a woman," she gently replied. "He's my childhood friend George. We hang out a lot." The whole time we were out, Augustine kept scowling and throwing shade. When we left, I heard Daniela speaking in a really soft tone from far away. "Augustine, don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. You can have girl childhood friends, so why can't I have boy childhood friends? That's kinda double standards, don't you think?" Hearing that, Augustine froze for a moment. He looked in my direction, clearly thinking it over. After Daniela left, Augustine strode off quickly toward the parking lot. "Augustine, Augustine, wait up for me," I called out loudly from behind, but Augustine didn't even look back. I ran to catch up with him, and the moment I grabbed his sleeve, he jerked it away hard. "Can you stop following me all the time?" I stumbled back, standing there in disbelief. The look in his eyes was full of resentment, impatience, and disgust. But I didn't have the words to question him. After all, I was never on the same level as Augustine. He gave me the right to stand beside him, but he could take it away anytime. I stood there, watching him walk away. It felt like there was a hole in my heart. Chapter 03. The next day, Augustine didn't wait for me to go to school together. I ran into Diana at the teaching building. She had this smug, take pleasure in my misfortune look on her face. "Jane Lynn, your good days are almost over." The sadness from being dumped by Augustine last night was still weighing on me, and I really didn't want to deal with Diana. But Diana wouldn't let me off. She grabbed my clothes and pushed me to the ground. I frowned, looked at her, and asked angrily, "What do you think you're doing?" She crouched down, looking down at me, and patted my face. "I'm warning you. Stay away from Augustine. He's the perfect catch the Sun family's been rooting for." I looked Diana dead in the eye. "Think the Sun family would share some business with the Lynn family?" Diana looked a bit lost. "What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said." She rolled her eyes. "Keep dreaming." Hearing that, I stood up and slapped her hard across the face. Damn, does she really think everyone's Augustine? Like he can just boss me around and act all high and mighty? They won't give any business to my Lynn family. And now they're trying to tell me how to run things? Ugly as hell. But thinks she's all that. Diana was fuming. She covered her face, eyes blazing with anger, lunging at me fiercely. I didn't back down, sidestepped, lifted my leg, kicked, all in one smooth move. With a thud, she went down flat on her face. Humph. That little drama really cleared a lot of the tension I'd been carrying since last night. I let out a big breath and headed straight to class. After class, I was just about to look for Augustine when, surprise, he came looking for me first. Seeing Augustine at the door, I felt both shocked and excited. I quickly packed up my books and ran to him, my feet light and happy. "Augustine." I called him, but he didn't reply, and didn't give me his usual head pat. I thought to myself, his face looks off, could he still be upset about last night? But I hadn't done anything wrong last night. He shot me a glance and said, "Follow me." I followed him step by step, taking the route to the art department. Sure enough, we ended up at the art department where Daniela was. Before we even got to the dance studio, I heard someone crying. A bad feeling washed over me. Daniela was comforting a crying mess of a Diana. Augustine pulled me forward, straight to the point, tossing me a single word, "Apologize." I stared at him, wide-eyed and annoyed. Augustine asked, "How can you defend someone without knowing the full story?" I argued. "She bullied me first. Augustine ignored my explanation. His tone firm. Jane, apologize. I won't. For the first time ever, I stood my ground against Augustine. He didn't expect me to disobey. And anger spread across Augustine's face. If you don't apologize, don't ever show up in front of me again. I looked at him in disbelief. Back then, whenever someone bullied me, he always had my back. But now, he's become the number one person bullying me. I spun around and shot Daniela and Diana an angry look. Daniela looked a bit guilty and glanced over at Augustine. Augustine, it's just some girl stuff. No need to be so serious. But could you maybe not hit faces next time? Girls care about their looks. You know, she sounded like she was sticking up for me, but really she was blaming me for hurting Diana's face. As expected, Augustine's frown deepened, and his stare held no hint of compromise. I kinda get it now. He wants to give Daniela a proper explanation. Otherwise, it would mess up his chances with Daniela. My eyes filled with tears, and my face was full of hurt. After a few minutes of deadlock, I apologized unwillingly. Sorry. The moment Diana heard me apologize, she instantly stopped crying and looked up. After all the trouble you caused me, is just one apology enough? That's when I noticed Diana's face was bruised and swollen, looking like a pig's snout. I was shocked. Did I really hit her that hard? Your face. Smack. I was just about to ask a question when Diana slapped me right across the face. Burning hot pain. My blood instantly rushed, and as I raised my hand to hit back, Augustine grabbed my wrist. I couldn't break free, my eyes blazing with anger as I protested. Augustine, she hit me. Perfect. That evens the score. I stared blankly at Augustine, who'd grown up with me and always looked out for me. But right now, he felt so unfamiliar. Augustine's brow furrowed, his eyes full of disapproval as he looked at me. In the end, I roughly shook off Augustine's hand and ran away. Disappointed. Chapter 04. Augustine and I are in a cold war. When I head to school, he doesn't wait for me anymore. All I see when I step outside is the exhaust from his car. At school, Augustine also purposely avoids me. Scared I'll cling to him, so I just decided to keep to myself. Dad noticed I've been staying home every weekend these past few weeks. He's really worried. Finally, he couldn't keep it in anymore. Jane, are you having a fight with young Master Han? I kept quiet, not saying a single word. Dad spoke seriously beside me. For the past month, the Lin family's business has been running into trouble again and again. All the deals we had set up got mysteriously cancelled by the clients. If this keeps up, the Lin family might not even be able to keep up appearances. Why don't you go and feel out young Master Han's position? Seeing Dad's graying hair and his worried, lined face made me feel terrible inside. When Dad took over, the Lin family was a total mess. But for the sake of family honor, he had no choice but to hang tough. After all these years, the only reason I'm willing to be Augustine's toady is because every time I see Dad groveling and kissing up to those big shots, it just hurts inside. If sucking up to Augustine can bring the whole family peace and help Dad stand tall, then what's a little suffering on my part? If I don't reach out to Augustine, he never will. It's always been me who backs down. He's never once taken the initiative to find me. The only time was to come blame me on someone else's behalf. Monday. I'm back at school, pacing back and forth outside Augustine's research office. These past few weeks, Augustine and Daniela have been dating nonstop, with news flying everywhere. I don't even know how or in what role I'm supposed to approach him. Oh, isn't this Miss Lin? This totally teasing tone, if it's not Jenny. Then who? She's been killing it lately. The Han family's been real good to the Jenny family. Jenny's business took off, and the whole Jenny family got a serious upgrade. Back then, anyone who messed with me got blacklisted by Augustine. He's really different now. What? You here to see young Master Han? Ugh. Some people just have zero self-awareness. A clingy little maid dreaming she's gonna be a phoenix perched high on the branches. Too bad. The prince is meant to be with a princess. After all, her noisy little mouth just kept jabbering. I gave her a cold look. So what about you? Are you a pheasant or a crow? If I can't be a phoenix, then why should she? I don't deserve the prince, so why would she? Who do you think's disgusting? You. Thrown off. Jenny immediately flipped out. Then, she smiled again. But hey, I can be friends with the crown princess. Some people, though, are just meant to be cannon fodder. Just wait, you'll definitely get kicked out of City A. Saying that, she clasped her hands and strutted away with a sultry sway. Kicked out of City A? Me? Jenny is friends with the crown princess? Suddenly thought of Diana. It must be Jenny who said something to Daniela. In the end, I didn't see Augustine. He went to the capital with Daniela. No worries. Since it's Mrs. Han's 50th birthday, he's definitely there. Chapter 05. Weekend. All the big shots from politics and business showed up for Mrs. Han's 50th birthday. I looked around but didn't see Augustine or Daniela. After Mr. and Mrs. Han's speeches, the opening dance began. The bright lights went out. The colorful lights flashed brilliantly all over the room. A perfect couple suddenly appeared in the middle of the dance floor. The music started, and the dancing began. He's talented, she's beautiful, and their dance moves were graceful. By the end of their dance, the applause was thunderous. The two thanked everyone and left, leaving the crowd feeling content. I trailed right behind them, looking for a chance to ask Augustine if he had any business deals with the Lin family. I made my way up to the attic and caught Augustine and Daniela locked in a passionate kiss. I widened my eyes, frozen right where I stood. Once I snapped out of it, I immediately ducked behind the nearby wooden door. The sound of their lips locked together was crystal clear. After who knows how long, they finally stopped. Augustine came over with a glass of red wine and handed it to Daniela. The two of them enjoyed the cool breeze, all warm and tender. When is your boy childhood friend gonna stay away from you? Daniela leaned against the railing, swirling her wine glass. You're so cruel. You've got your girl childhood friend right there. So why should my boy childhood friend stay away? Augustine kissed her earlobe and whispered something I couldn't quite catch. I heard Daniela say, well, that depends on how you perform. They stayed close for a long time before leaving the attic. I stepped out from behind the door, feeling like I'd just fallen into an ice cellar. I had a gut feeling I probably couldn't stay by Augustine's side anymore. What about the Lin family's business? After going downstairs, I felt completely lost. Diana, Jenny, George, and the others provocatively raised their glasses at me. All I wanted right then was to run away. I quickly dashed into the bathroom, gasping hard in front of the mirror. Do you know why the Lin family became a thorn in the side of the Sun family? I turned my head, and Jenny was leaning against the doorframe, smirking at me. She kept talking. All I did was leak the news about the Han family and the Lin family's childhood betrothal to the Sun family. The Han family is a stepping stone for the Sun family to expand their influence in City A. Augustine. Yeah, the Sun family is dead set on getting him. You'd better know your place and get out of here. The Sun family controls both the streets and the shadows. They're not to be messed with. Childhood betrothal? When did the Han family and Lin family have a childhood betrothal? Could it be me and Augustine? I wanted to ask clearly, but when I looked up, Jenny was already gone. I headed back to the banquet hall. I saw Augustine chatting with someone, but Daniela wasn't around. I hurried over, trying to use this chance to clear things up. I honestly never thought about any childhood betrothal. All I want is peace for the Lin family. Chapter 06. Out of nowhere, Diana blocked my way. Hey, tag along. Where do you think you're going? None of your business. Move aside. How dare you yell at me like that? Believe it or not, I'll make you regret it just like last time. You're deliberately framing me. Diana had that look like she was just asking for a punch. Yeah, I did it on purpose. So what? You're just a contrast to my sister. With her around, Augustine will always stand by me. I sneered. Like you're Augustine's sweetheart or something. Just a cousin, but acting all high and mighty? Anger flashed in Diana's eyes. She glanced behind me, then stepped forward, getting closer. I'm getting impatient. Move aside. A flash of ruthlessness flickered in her eyes. In just a second, we switched places. She toppled toward the wine glass tower, and I was too slow to catch her, which made me look like the one who had knocked her down. The shattering glass cups crackled loudly, grabbing everyone's attention in the banquet hall. Wah, Jane, why do you always have to make things difficult for me? Did I ever owe you anything? Diana started blaming me, and I had no defense. Not me. Augustine stepped forward, frowning at me. I quickly stepped up and grabbed Augustine's shirt sleeve. Augustine. She fell on her own. It's got nothing to do with me. Daniela helped Diana up, and the Hahn family doctor came over to check her wound. Daniela frowned at Augustine, wanting to say something but holding back. But I already understood. The next second, Augustine shook off my hand. Jane, can you stay away from me for once? Stop always causing trouble and making me clean up your messes. I was quick to explain. No, I didn't. They teamed up to bully me. They say the Hahn family and the Lin family have a childhood betrothal, so the Sun family has always taken aim at me. Augustine looked at me with disappointment. At first, when they said your feelings for me weren't sincere, I didn't believe it, but now hearing it from you, it kind of proves they were right. I quickly glanced at Jenny. Her eyes were full of glee at my expense. Then I looked over at Daniela and Diana. They were both watching me like I was some kind of joke. I'd fallen right into their trap. Mrs. Hahn smiled and stepped in to smooth things over. Jane, Auntie, I've always thought of you as my daughter. You and Augustine are closer than real siblings. My dad and mom bowed and apologized to Master Hahn and Madam Hahn. Jane's being childish. We'll definitely set her straight when we get back. Sorry for the trouble. I didn't care what they thought. I just wanted to know Augustine's stance. But Augustine stepped forward, chasing after Daniela. I grabbed the hem of his shirt tightly. Augustine. Augustine turned back and gave me a cold look. Jane, can you please stop bothering me for once in your life? Stay away from me. I get annoyed just seeing you. The murderous, cold look in his eyes freaked me out, and I instantly let go of his coat. I stared at him, stunned. Tears welled up in my eyes. He just shot me a cold glance before rushing to catch up with Daniela. The crowd was buzzing loudly. I was the only one who felt like I was trapped in a freezing cold cellar. Chapter 07. Ever since Augustine openly showed he hated me at the banquet, the Lin family's business has been going downhill. Dad was stressed out, and Mom was worried sick. I still want to try to get through to Augustine, hoping he might help the Lin family. But right now, I just can't get anywhere near him. I showed up early at their department to wait, parked myself at his doorstep, even tried booking through the Hahn family. None of it worked. I can't even catch a glimpse of a single strand of Augustine's hair. Once again, I left totally disappointed. Diana and Jenny, plus a bunch of random little followers, blocked my way. I have no interest in competing with them. Tried to slip past, but got stopped. I gave Diana a cold look, not a hint of warmth. Move aside. Diana crossed her arms and smirked at me. Totally challenging. No way. What are you gonna do about it? She shot a glance at the little follower beside her, and someone stepped forward to start messing with me. I yelled angrily, "Get lost!" But they totally ignored my anger and only got worse. After being pushed off balance again, I warned them with bloodshot eyes. I'm telling you, get lost quick. Don't mess with me. Diana let out a snort. Oh wow, so scary. Then why don't you try it and see what happens when you mess with Miss Lin? Hearing Diana's orders, those little followers completely lost all restraint. They pulled my hair, tore at my clothes, and shoved me around like a bouncing ball. I was furious and snapped the creepy hand grabbing me. Hearing it crack as it broke, I kicked again, tripped two of them, then grabbed their faces and slammed them side to side. After dealing with all the little followers, I turned to Diana and Jenny. How could these two arrogant rich girls even compete with me? Someone who's trained in martial arts since I was a kid? When I was little, because I was close to Augustine, some clueless kidnappers took me hostage to threaten the Hahn family. Since then, Augustine and I have been doing regular martial arts training. Even though last time, it wasn't me who left Diana bruised and battered, but Augustine knows I've got the skills. That's why he so easily believed it was me who hurt Diana. No, that's not right. Diana knew to play the victim to frame me, so she must have done her homework and sized up my fighting skills. So why is she still poking the bear, trying to provoke me now? Suddenly, I felt a chill down my spine, a bad feeling creeping up on me. Diana fell to the ground, looking all messed up and pale, clutching her stomach and whining. Brother-in-law, help me! I followed her gaze. I turned my head, right into a pair of deep, cold eyes. I froze on the spot. There was solid evidence, no way to argue. Daniela told someone to take Jenny and Diana away. Augustine left last. He took a few steps, stopped, and looked back. I could barely make out his profile. He said, "Jane, I don't think I've ever really known you." Just like that. It felt like something was stuck in my throat, choking up, aching, wanting to say something. I opened my mouth, but not a single word came out. A sharp sting flooded my nose. The mist in my eyes wouldn't clear. My steps were unsteady, like a lost ghost stumbling back home. In the dim room, all my strength seemed drained, and I slept for a whole day and night. Chapter 08. The next morning, I slipped downstairs like a ghost. The whole villa was dark and empty. Not a single soul in sight. I wanted water, but the dispenser was empty. Dad and Mom were nowhere to be found. I was sitting on the sofa, feeling so wronged I was about to cry. Sounds came from the nanny's room, so I looked over. The nanny carried her suitcase. Glancing back every few steps, she turned her head and saw me, like she'd spotted a lifesaver. "Miss, could you please talk to the master about not firing us? We don't mind if the pay's lower, or even if we don't get paid at all. Having worked at the Lin family for so many years, I just can't leave. I truly believe the Lin family will get through this tough time." My head was all dizzy and fuzzy. The nanny kept talking nonstop. After a long while, I croaked out a few words. "Fired? A tough spot?" The nanny wiped her tears away. "The master and mistress have been up for days, running themselves ragged trying to lock down investments. Some products ran into issues, and now they're staring down huge compensation claims." That's when I realized the Lin family was already this shattered. I grabbed the nanny's hand. "Please don't leave yet. Wait for me." I choked up a bit. "Let me figure something out." In the end, the nanny stayed, but the family was already broke. I barely managed to hand over all the money I had to the nanny and asked her to take care of things at home. And I found Dad and Mom. They were standing at the rundown entrance of the Lin family, surrounded by a bunch of scary-looking people. Those people were yelling, "You have to give us an explanation. My daughter died because she ate your spicy sticks and got poisoned." "Yeah, it's your spicy sticks that caused this. My son's still in the ICU." Dad and Mom were at the front, with the company's officials right behind. The troublemakers brought along news reporters to stir things up. I saw one of the radicals holding a knife. I suddenly had a bad feeling. "Dad, be careful." I rushed forward as fast as I could and kicked the knife away. The crowd immediately got angry, finally got these people under control, turned around and ran straight into workers demanding their pay again. The Lin family hasn't paid wages for 2 months. Spent a lot of effort calming the workers down. In the dead silent office, Dad looked exhausted. Mom was quietly crying. Dad kept slapping himself in frustration. "It's all my fault. I'm useless. The Lin family is about to get taken down by me." I quickly stopped him. Dad, it's not your fault." He was crying his eyes out, wiping his face. He struggled to get the words out. "The Lin family might have to file for bankruptcy." "Bankruptcy?" My heart clenched. But honestly, I kinda thought the Lin family going bankrupt wasn't surprising. That burden really should be let go. As an unworthy descendant, I guess I have to go apologize to the ancestors myself. Hearing that, my mind immediately cleared. But inside, I felt a little panicked. Dad values the Lin family more than life itself. If the Lin family's gone, he might really end it all. "Dad, don't do this. Please wait. I'll go beg Augustine. Please don't do anything stupid." He's drowning in grief, not hearing a word I say, like he's already figuring out how to meet his ancestors. I'm a mess inside, totally anxious and restless, not caring about looks. I grabbed a taxi straight to the Han family. Chapter 09. "I want to see the Han vice president," the front desk politely said. "Sorry, you need an appointment to see President Han. This society is just so damn real." Back when I was close with Augustine Han, now, all those people who used to laugh at me are warmly sending me off to the CEO's office. But now, I don't even have the right to step inside, throwing some up on a pedestal while stepping on others. Just how the world's rules work. I tried to force my way in, but security dragged me out. I want to see Augustine. Tell him to come out and see me. They were all snarky and sarcastic. Not just anyone can meet with the Hahn family. Worried about Dad. I collapsed weakly to the ground. A complete mess. Finally, Augustine's assistant Joel saw me and reminded me that Augustine wasn't at the office. Maybe he's at home. So, I rushed over to the Hahn house. The servants at the Hahn house weren't as friendly as before. They told me straight up, the young master hasn't been back here lately. Augustine doesn't just stay in one place. Since he got close to Daniela, I hardly ever see him around here. When I left, I spotted a flyer for a product launch on the coffee table. I jotted it down. The next day, I found out where the Hahn family's new product launch was being held. I disguised myself in advance and sneaked in. After the new product launch, I stood at the crossroads Augustine had to pass. Our eyes met, but it seemed like he didn't want to talk to me. He started to walk away. I reached out to stop him. Augustine. He turned to me, his gaze cold. What's the matter? I steeled myself. Augustine. Save the Lin family. As long as Augustine steps in, all the crises for the Lin family can be settled. A reason. A reason? That was the first time he asked me for a reason. Since childhood, the Lin family has been used to relying on the Hahn family's protection. I never once thought about the reasons. I felt a little shaky. Is it just because we grew up together? Augustine snorted. Grew up together? It's more accurate to say I bought a service. Bought a service? After all these years, he actually thinks of me like that? My heart shook. My fingers slowly curled back almost without me noticing. I wanted to give up, but Dad and Mom's pale faces kept flashing through my mind. So, I begged, looking at Augustine, my voice breaking, please, save the Lin family. I'm scared of Dad. He just snapped. Augustine sneered at me, his words ice cold. What does him snapping have to do with me? I'm done playing charity cases. Don't come looking for me again. I grabbed his sleeve. He shot me a hateful glare. He yanked my hand away. My hand went bright red where his rough tug rubbed against my sleeve. I've got important stuff going on. I suggest you don't piss me off. After that, Joel stepped in to block me. Augustine shoved his hands in his pockets and walked off without a word. Watching his back slowly disappear, my heart fell deeper and deeper. I have no idea how I got out of that building. All I know is, no sooner had I stepped outside than someone grabbed me and shoved me into a van. Chapter 10. Half an hour later, the blindfold was ripped off my eyes. My blurry vision slowly cleared up. Seeing who was in front of me, I frowned. Diana. Diana shot me a cold, icy glare. Jane. Oh Jane, you don't have a protector anymore. Let's see how you're gonna act tough now. A slap landed on my face, and blood immediately dripped from the corner of my mouth. I tried to fight back but only realized too late that my hands and feet were tightly bound. Totally stuck. I glared at Diana in anger. What do you want to do? Diana burst out laughing. Of course it's revenge. You've attacked me several times already. Me? I'm nothing special. But I don't let things slide. I closed my eyes. In her hands now. I doubt I'll escape this. Diana pummeled me with punches and kicks, hitting every sore spot. Before long, I was sweating cold, barely able to catch my breath. Seeing that I didn't react at all, silently enduring it, Diana started losing interest. Sigh. Bullying people is kinda boring anyway. How about we shake things up a bit? You call Augustine, and if he comes to save you, I'll let you go. If he doesn't come, then don't blame me. Call Augustine? Augustine hasn't replied to my messages in ages. If I call him, will he even pick up? Diana signaled her people to untie me. As soon as the ropes were off, I collapsed to the ground. Call him. If Augustine actually cares about you, then I'll let you off. Deep down, I really don't want to contact Augustine again, but all these years we spent together played like a movie in my mind. I still have some fantasies and hopes about him. So, pushed and nagged by Diana, I finally called Augustine's number. But phone calls, WeChat, even Alipay. I tried every possible way to reach him. Augustine didn't respond at all. I listened to the endless beeping, almost in despair. What a forgetful person I am. Today's my sister's birthday. So Augustine must be crazy busy. He's gotta get birthday gifts ready and set the party scene. Geez, lucky guy. Turns out Augustine was talking about something important, going to Daniela's birthday. Hee hee. With tears streaming, I chuckled softly. The stomach Diana kicked earlier now spasmed in pain. Seeing me like that, Diana wanted to make things worse. If you can't get through, then I'll try and ask for you. Diana made a video call to Augustine. Brother-in-law, are you busy? Augustine replied with a quiet Jane wants to say something to you. Hearing my name, Augustine furrowed his brows but said nothing. It's like killing someone and crushing their spirit. He ignored my call but picked up Diana's. Diana aimed her phone at me. I must look awful right now, crying my eyes out. Face totally miserable. I whispered, Augustine, save me. Jane, what trick are you playing now? No one knows your skills better than I do. Diana can't hold a candle to you, even if you're really in trouble. Don't bother me. On the video call, Augustine was on a rooftop. The place was huge and beautifully decorated, with Daniela right in the middle of the crowd. Chatting and laughing, Augustine hung up right after speaking. His coldness shattered my last lifeline. Tisk. TSK. TSK. Poor thing. I just collapsed on the ground like a pile of worthless mud. More than the physical pain, what crushed me was losing all hope. Augustine. He's no longer the Augustine I used to know. Maybe seeing me completely defeated. Diana lost interest too. So boring. I'm off to my sister's birthday party. Have a good night. Diana walked away, but she left behind 5 muscular guys. They sneered as they came toward me. Chapter 11. 3 years later. Han family. Dad was invited to young Master Han and Mrs. Han's silver wedding banquet. He's pretty smooth at these social drinking events. It's basically just nodding and throwing around compliments. He's used to it. He just finished toasting a big shot when he bumped into someone's back. He immediately apologized. Sorry. Looking up, he saw it was Augustine. Augustine spoke casually, like it was no big deal. Uncle Lin. Oh, young Master Han, you're way too kind. I really don't deserve this. Dad awkwardly Jane, trying to slip away quietly. Hearing that, Augustine's face immediately darkened. A lump got stuck in my chest, not quite up, not quite down. Stop right there. He just turned when Augustine snapped at him. He turned back, standing about a meter from Augustine. Young Master Han, what do you need? Jane. Augustine didn't get to finish before Dad cut him off. Dad swore, young Master Han, don't worry. I've already promised her to someone else. She won't bother you anymore. Hearing that, Augustine froze for a second. It felt like something inside was missing. He shot Dad a cold look. Say that again. Augustine was giving off intense pressure, and Dad wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, repeating, young Master Han, don't worry. I already promised her to someone else. She won't get in your way again. Dad said it again. Augustine's face instantly changed. He suddenly smashed his wine glass on the floor, shards scattering everywhere. Everyone nearby jumped in surprise, sensing things were going south. Dad slipped away while Augustine was still fuming on the spot. The first thing he did when he got home was call me overseas. Good girl. I was kinda confused when I got the call. It was still the middle of the night here. Dad usually wouldn't call at this hour. What's wrong? Dad? Daughter. You've got to stay safe out there. What happened? Dad told me about Augustine throwing a fit and smashing a wine glass. Han family. Augustine's study. His eyes were glued to the tech guy messing with the equipment. My chat with Dad was clearly heard by both of them. Can you pinpoint the location? The technician frowned, concentrating on the controls. After a series of beeps, the technician yelled out, got it. I was half asleep to begin with, but after hanging up, there was no way I could fall back asleep. I got up and went over to the window. Even at this hour, the streets were packed, neon lights blazing. My mind drifted back to that evening. Someone came through and saved me at the last minute. She recorded everything, and I used that video to blackmail Daniela. Diana was just a brown-noser like me. The only person in the Sun family who really has a say is the daughter of the head, Daniela. I told Daniela, if she didn't do what I asked, I'd release the video exposing Diana's abuses. By then, Public opinion alone would crush the Sun family. The Sun family's stronghold in City A would be at risk. At the same time, I told her, the more she went after the Lin family, the tighter I'd cling to Augustine's leg. I'd make our childhood betrothal public, nailing her to the pillar of shame. So, Daniela backed down. She agreed to help the Lin family, and I left City A. The day I left, City A was raining cats and dogs, and Daniela was so scared Augustine would find out I was leaving that she funded the Lin family that same day. My mom and dad were both at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, so I quietly arrived in the UK all alone. By the time I left back then, my heart was already numb. Augustine delivered a crushing blow that crushed all hope. That's why I left without a second thought. I told my parents to cancel my household registration and change my name, and slowly planted my roots in a foreign land. Chapter 12. Not long after I left, Augustine and Daniela got engaged. The engagement ceremony was massive, streamed live worldwide. I even caught it while I was abroad. Not long after, I came to the UK. That's when I met Andrew. He was polite and refined, came from a well-off family, and quietly helped me and my family quite a bit. During that time, my parents, Andrew, and I visited several countries and met up. They were really happy with Andrew and told him to take good care of me. Back then, when we left, Daniela's money temporarily kept the Lin family afloat, but there were still gaps to fill later. Andrew took that burden off Dad's shoulders. At least the Lin family didn't have to go bankrupt. I just hope the Han family and the Sun family can leave the Lin clan alone. I could spend my whole life without going back home, without ever facing them. Just arrived in the UK. I felt really down, had no one to turn to, completely lost. After being here a while, I realized Brits are huge tea fans. Breakfast tea, bedside tea, afternoon tea, farewell tea, work break tea, you name it. I decided to open a Chinese-style tea house, focusing on famous Chinese teas with a side of traditional snacks. It caught on big time. The tea house grew from 1 to 2, then 3, and now it's a chain all across Europe and America. At the same time, to help the Lin family with their product sales issues, I opened up sales channels for spicy sticks in European and American supermarkets as a distributor, successfully fixing the Lin family's years of losses and sluggish sales. Life nowadays is pretty comfortable. I sat in the office, tallying the amounts in the accounts. Bang, 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 there was a knock on the door. Come in, are you busy? I looked up. I saw Andrew come in carrying afternoon tea. Not busy. I stood up and moved over to the sofa, took a small sip of tea, pulled out an envelope and pushed it over to Andrew sitting across from me. Andrew looked puzzled. What's this? Open it and see. Andrew opened the envelope, and as soon as he saw what was inside, he got it. He felt a bit annoyed. Jane, do you really have to keep such strict accounts with me? I smiled and said, even brothers settle their accounts clearly. I've paid back everything I owed before we could talk as equals. My business is doing great. All thanks to you. I gave his shoulder a friendly pat. Don't be upset. Clearing all this debt really lifts a weight off my chest. Finally, no more burdens holding me down. Or do you want me to carry this mental weight forever? Andrew's handsome brows twitched slightly. I seized the moment. Now I finally feel free. Come on, I'll treat you to a meal, no matter how long I stay abroad. My favorite food is still the dishes from back home. Andrew and I ordered a few classic dishes. Before the meal, I'm going to the restroom. Coming out of the private room. Excuse me, where's the restroom? The waiter pointed to the other side. Okay, thanks. I came out of the restroom. Someone blocked my way. I glanced down at my phone, not noticing who had come up. Please let me through. Thanks. The other person stood completely still. I put down my phone and looked up. Chapter 13. In a flash, time stood still, while the world around us changed like shifting clouds. We just stood there, frozen in that moment. Somewhere over my heart, a healed scar was faintly cracking again. Memories I didn't want to face seemed about to break free. A single ripple spread across the calm lake of my heart. I don't even remember how I got back to the private room. What's wrong? Your face changed after you went to the bathroom, Andrew asked, clearly worried. I forced out an awkward smile. It's nothing. Could it be that the good days are finally here? Andrew made me laugh. You're overthinking it. Just eat already. After eating for so long, I thought Augustine would have left. But to my surprise, right after leaving the private room, Andrew got punched. Augustine swung his fists wildly at Andrew's face. Andrew was caught off guard and took several hits. Stop it. I tried desperately to stop him from the side, but Augustine acted like he didn't hear a thing. I had no choice but to catch his punches and hit back hard while he wasn't expecting it. Augustine finally stopped. But what's up with that hurt look on his face? Is he seriously acting like he had the right to hit someone? Too lazy to deal with him, I quickly checked Andrew's wound. You okay? Andrew's face was a mess, but he forced a smile and shook his head. I'm fine. Come on. I'll take you to see a doctor. I helped Andrew up and left. Before leaving, I glanced at Augustine to make sure he wasn't planning another sneak attack. His eyes were bloodshot, locked on my face, like he had 1,000 things to say. I didn't think twice. I grabbed Andrew and left. I thought Augustine would leave, but when I got back to my place that night, I found Augustine leaning against my door. I clenched my purse, hesitated for a second, then I just figured it out. What am I even afraid of? If you're not up to anything, there's no reason to be scared of ghosts knocking at midnight. I calmly unlocked the door under his stare, went inside, and shut it all in one smooth move. I was beyond tired and just crashed right away. The next day, I opened the door. A figure stumbled through the doorway. I took a closer look. Turns out it was Augustine. His face was pale, sweat cold on his forehead, and he was totally out. I stood there, torn inside. In the end, I decided to help him, but just as my hand was about to touch him, the pain from that beating Diana gave me back then hit me like it was happening again. That sharp pain made me shiver and pull my hand back. He didn't save me back then either. So, I mercilessly kicked him out. Close the door. Leave. Let him lie there at the door, unconscious. I don't get what act he's trying to put on. Anyway, it's none of my business. Now I've got a new life, and everything just fits. I'm no longer the person who had to be Augustine's lackey, constantly sucking up to him, whether he's alive or dead. It's nothing to do with me. But since that day, he's been like a ghost, showing up around me every single day. When I go eat, he's standing by the glass window. I visit an art exhibit, and he's just around every corner. I go to work, and there he is, standing right at the company door. The wildest part is, every night, like clockwork, he's outside my front door. Whenever Andrew and I are together, Andrew always ends up getting beaten. And all this time, I haven't said a single word to Augustine. I thought so. He did it on a whim, but he's been doing it for a full 2 months now. Lots of times, his assistant Joel watched me from a distance, like he wanted to say something but didn't. People at the company whisper behind my back. At home, even the neighbors avoided me, like they thought I was mixed up with some shady person. Chapter 14. That night, I got home and didn't see Augustine anywhere. I quietly let out a breath. At the same time, I felt a faint twinge of disappointment. I went through the usual, unlocked the door, went in, and closed it all in one go. I'm a light sleeper, half asleep. I heard the door lock click. I snapped instantly to alert. In the dark, I fumbled my way out of bed, grabbed a stick and crouched behind the sofa. A really tall guy was rummaging through my room, searching everywhere. He came into the bedroom, saw no one on the bed, and got cautious. My heart started racing. I hoped to lose some stuff but avoid disaster. But now, I don't think that's going to work. He searched. I hid. With nowhere to retreat, I launched the attack, caught him off guard and slammed the stick hard into his back. After the other guy gasped in surprise, he immediately attacked me. That's when I realized he actually had backup. 2 big guys, each about 6 feet 3 inches tall. Even though I studied martial arts, handling them was really tough. One took out a knife, and under the streetlight's glare, the blade made me squint. Caught off guard, I got kicked to the ground. One stabbed at me with the knife, but I flipped away just in time to avoid it. Being surrounded and chased down like that, I was completely exhausted. In the end, one tied up my hands while the other lunged at me with the knife. I closed my eyes in despair. At the critical moment, someone burst through the door. Augustine kicked the guy with the knife away. I took the chance to break free. Together, we overpowered the attacker and called the cops. After the police finished taking our statements and left, we both just collapsed onto the sofa. I was about to break the awkward silence and say thanks, but he suddenly fell off the sofa, unconscious. Outside the hospital room, Joel with a grim look. Miss Lynn, young Master Han hasn't been eating or sleeping well these past 2 months. My body's completely worn out. Actually, before he could finish, the doctor was already calling for family. I walked into the hospital room. Seeing Augustine so pale made me feel awful. How are you feeling? Augustine smiled, just as gentle as when we were kids. It's nothing serious. Let me peel an apple for you. Okay. I froze for a second. I actually just said that casually. He hated apples the most before. No choice. I sat down and started peeling the apple. After we finished the fruit, things got kinda awkward. I wanted to leave but felt too shy, glancing at my watch every now and then. If you have something to do, you can leave first. I felt like I'd been let off. All right. I'll head out now. The moment the hospital room door closed, I saw his lips droop through the glass. But Augustine, none of this was my doing. Everyone has to pay for what they've done. I thought Augustine would have to stay in the hospital for a few days. Never expected him to show up at my door the very next day. This time, I invited him inside to sit. Augustine, did you need something from me? Persistent for 2 whole months. Honestly, I don't even know what it is about me that the Han family could be interested in. Augustine pressed his lips together, his face a little flushed but still looking a bit sickly. Me. He choked up for a moment, then kept going. Just missed you. Miss me? I frowned, not sure what he meant. I didn't want to guess either. So, I changed the subject. You're married to Daniela, right? Augustine froze, hadn't replied yet. So I went on. You probably have kids already. Augustine looked at me. You don't follow the news? I shook my head. No, I don't. My life's good right now. I like this calm vibe. I've got a new life and a new group of friends. I've cut off all ties with everything back home. Augustine gave a bitter little smile. Is there no one or nothing left back home that you miss? I looked at Augustine and answered seriously. No. Chapter 15. That day, Augustine left in a daze. His figure looked so lonely, just like when I left the country all alone back then. But there's no real way to relate. You've gotta live in the moment. Augustine didn't show up in my life like a ghost anymore. My life settled into calm. Thinking of Andrew, I felt a bit guilty. Augustine would beat him up whenever he saw him, so I tried to keep him away for those 2 months. Now that Augustine's gone, I grabbed some gifts and went to visit him at his place. From afar, I saw him arguing with a woman. I frowned. I stopped the car, walked up to them. I caught something about lying and shamelessness. I called out, Jenny? Haven't seen her in years. She really hasn't changed at all. Jenny looked a bit surprised to see me. Jane. I glanced at Andrew, then at Jenny. You two know each other? They stayed quiet, which was pretty much a yes. What are you guys arguing about? Jenny shot a glance at Andrew, and Andrew immediately looked away. In Andrew's family living room, Jane, how have you been all these years? Pretty good. Glad to hear that. All thanks to you saving my life back then. Back then, Diana leaving 5 burly guys was a pretty obvious signal. At the critical moment, Jenny charged in with her crew to rescue me. At the time, Jenny pretended to switch loyalty to the Sun family, and the place where I was held was picked out by her. She had installed cameras in advance, filming the entire time Diana was abusing me. Later, I ended up threatening Daniela with that video. Jenny smiled a little awkwardly after hearing me out. Actually, it was all young Master Han's plan. What? Augustine. What does this have to do with Augustine? When I asked him for help back then, he told me not to bother him. Jenny told me Augustine pretended to ally with the Sun family, but it was all to help me get revenge. The Sun family started out in the underworld. The people who kidnapped me back then were from the Sun family. After that kidnapping, I was sick for a whole year, afraid of the dark, afraid of people. afraid of any kind of touch. It's Augustine, sticking by me day and night. Tell me, don't be afraid. It's all over now. I'll get revenge for you later. My chest felt like it was stuffed with cotton, all heavy and dull. That promise of revenge from so many years ago. Did he actually pull it off? Jenny was the person he planted early on in the Sun family. Even Andrew was arranged by Augustine. Jenny was furious when talking about Andrew. That bastard doesn't even know you never mess with a friend's wife. Young Master Han clearly asked him to look after you. But this guy actually set his sights on you. He actually changed his name just like you did. Switched all his contact info. And stayed loyal to you. That made young Master Han lose track of you and get really anxious. A few years ago, I was scared that Augustine would find me. I didn't tell my family my phone number. I barely kept in touch. And whenever I did, I made sure to use public phones. I looked at Andrew, who was pressing his lips tight. Is what Jenny said true? Andrew looked pretty guilty. Sorry, but I'm really sincere about you. No wonder Augustine beats Andrew up every time they meet. None of them are good guys. I asked Jenny one last time. What's your relationship with Andrew? Him? He's my mom's stepson who I ran off with, leaving Andrew's place. My thoughts were a little scattered. An enemy isn't really an enemy. A benefactor isn't really a benefactor. It felt like something inside me suddenly went missing. Walking through the plaza, watching the scattered groups of people, there was this surreal feeling, like I'd been transported to another world. I couldn't hold back my curiosity. I searched for news about Augustine and Daniela. Chapter 16. Hashtag rich family arranged marriage falls apart. Hashtag Sun family's shocking big event. Hashtag Sun family exposed for colluding with drug dealers and laundering money. Hashtag Sun family revealed as a shield for fraud operations. Hashtag Sun family declared bankrupt. Hashtag Sun family's main members all arrested. All these stories came out 2 months ago. Each was front page headline news. But I still can't forgive Augustine. Why could they tell Jenny all this but not me? Why did they have to hide it and hurt me instead? We could have stood shoulder to shoulder. But instead, they left me stuck in this passive role, someone who's supposed to be grateful but is just miserable. Is this really what Augustine calls love? Knowing the truth didn't really change my life. I still woke up early for work, ate, got off work, and went to bed, living that 3.1 line life. Until one day, I received a package. I opened it up. It was a share transfer and property gift agreement. Augustine handed me all the Han family shares and gifted me all his movable and immovable property. I was stunned. What was he thinking? I wanted to get in touch with him, but found out I didn't have his contact info. I called Dad. Dad hesitated, like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Jane, how about you come back and see Augustine? I didn't get it. Dad actually wanted me to go see Augustine. When I left back then, I told Dad that the reason young Master Han was targeting the Lin family was because I was in Augustine's way. So Dad sent me off, hoping I'd never come back. And now, he actually wants me to go back and see Augustine. What's wrong with him? Dad let out a sigh. He's so young, but he's got a terminal illness. He's already given up on treatment. After hanging up, my heart just wouldn't calm down. The envelope in my hand felt burning hot. I did a lot of mental prep and finally convinced myself. I have to give his stuff back, right? Heading back home, I went to the Han family to find Augustine, but I was told Augustine wasn't home. Mrs. Han grabbed my hand. Jane, he didn't really have a choice before either. The Sun family has their eyes on the Han family. If the Sun family goes down for good, the Han family might not come out unscathed. Your childhood betrothal to Augustine is real. If you don't leave, the Sun family won't let you off. And Augustine can't really make a move either. That's why he sent you away. After you left, Augustine and the Sun family went head to head. And in the end, he barely won. Mrs. Han said the government wants to crack down on the Sun family, but to keep the balance of power and hold back hidden anti-government forces, they can't openly touch the Sun family. So, they turned to Augustine. Augustine never really wanted to let the Sun family off either. So, they hit it off right away. During all this, the only uncertain thing was me. Once they sent me away, he had nothing to worry about. I returned the shares and property Augustine gave me to Mrs. Hahn, but she said it all belonged to Augustine. She doesn't have the right to interfere with his decisions, and there's nothing she can do to take them back for him. Chapter 17. Mrs. Hahn led me to Augustine's study. Photos of me were everywhere, packed tight and shining bright. If you said he didn't like me, nobody would believe it. He's sick right now, secretly hidden away. None of us can find him. Mrs. Hahn let out a soft sob. Have you looked everywhere? Mrs. Hahn choked up. We have. We've checked all the places we could. But there's no sign of him. No idea where he might have gone. Maybe he knew his time was running out, so he found a spot to hide and planned to leave quietly. Hearing that, my nose got a bit stingy. Right now, I'm not thinking about anything else, just want to find him quickly and give his things back. What he gave me, I just can't handle. I paced back and forth, wondering where Augustine would choose to be in his final moments. I looked around, and Augustine's study had no clues at all. There were only my photos. But somehow, a pyramid symbol showed up in the middle of them all. Then, out of nowhere, I had a sudden flash of inspiration. I remembered when I was kidnapped as a kid. I felt like I was dying. I said, Augustine, if I die, you have to make me into a mummy. That way, whenever you miss me, you can come visit me. Augustine wouldn't let me say stupid stuff like that. You're not gonna die. If we have to die, we'll die together. Get made into mummies, and stay together forever. Since he feels so deeply for me, he definitely wouldn't want me to hear about him leaving one day and not feel any comfort at all. Do you think he wants to turn himself into a mummy? I rushed off to that mysterious place, Egypt. Modern Egyptians don't make mummies anymore. Only a few workshops still hold onto the mummy-making craft. I went searching everywhere for workshops that still preserve the mummy-making skills. Finally, I actually found Augustine in one of those workshops. This workshop's ancestors used to specialize in making mummies for the royal family. Even though modern society doesn't allow it anymore, some nobles still go for this kind of burial. I pushed open the big door. In the quiet courtyard, the lounge chair creaked as it rocked back and forth. I stepped closer. I saw Augustine lying there with his eyes closed, resting. Tears welled up all of a sudden. I stormed forward, yelling, Augustine, you coward! Hiding away just 'cause you're sick? Is that how a man acts? Your own Han family, and you leave them to me? You totally wrecked my peaceful life, and now you're just gonna bail without a care. Augustine opened his eyes, clearly shocked to see me suddenly there. He lay there dumbfounded in the lounge chair as I yelled at him. You know what? People who turn into mummies end up ugly as hell. I'm into young, handsome big bad dogs. Go die, and stay dead. I don't like ugly stuff. Augustine opened his mouth. Finally, he managed to squeeze out a sentence, carefully watching my reaction. So should I just freeze to death on Mount Everest? I was almost laughing out of anger. I don't like dead people. I like the living, lively, bouncing around, full of life. In the end, Augustine still came back with me to City A. Chapter 18. On the plane. Did you come because I said when I was little that if I died, I wanted to be made into a mummy? Augustine nodded. I was speechless. Big brother, that was when I was a kid. Back then I didn't know mummies were ugly. I definitely don't like mummies now. Augustine stared me straight in the eyes. As long as the body's kept safe, the soul will come back. I was about to say something, but his words shut me up. So he wants to keep the body safe, and then the soul will come back to find me? Sounds kinda creepy, but honestly, it's touching. Can't we just be okay separately? We're grown-ups. No need to make others worry. I gave him a look, frustrated he wasn't living up to his potential. He blinked like a little wife, looking at me all wronged. I felt a bit sorry for him. He's a patient now, but even now, I still don't know what illness he has. What exactly is wrong with you? Is it really a terminal illness? Do you have to die? He hesitated. I got pissed off. Seriously, are you even a man? You can't even clearly say what's wrong with you. Whining like that. What's that about? Breast cancer. His words cut me off mid-rant, and I stared at him, shocked. I didn't hear that right just now. Did I really just hear that? What? This time, he spoke very clearly. Breast cancer. I was instantly speechless. I looked away, feeling a bit awkward. Sneakily searched on my phone. Do men really get breast cancer? Although breast cancer has a lot of causes, but being under constant stress and in a bad mood raises the chances of breast problems. Is that how he got it? So, keeping a good mood and mindset is super important. In life, apart from life and death, nothing's a big deal. Back in the country, we found the best hospital and the best doctor. Before he went into the operating room, he held my hand tight. Jane, wait for me to come out. I threatened him. You have to come out alive. If you die, I'll use your money to find all kinds of guys. Augustine whined as he went into the operating room. I won't give you the chance. As the operating room door closed, it separated me and Augustine into two different worlds. I still hadn't fully forgiven Augustine, but whether I choose to forgive him or not later, he's gotta stick around, dead or alive. The debt's still there. What he owes me, he has to be alive to pay it back. While waiting, I dozed off, back to when I was a kid. Jane, you have to be my little follower for life. Follow me for life. I asked softly. Jane, you'll stick with me your whole life. I'll stick with you my whole life. What's the difference? Augustine scratched his head. Looks like there's no difference. It's all for life. I nodded. Yeah, so, be my little follower for life. Augustine thought it over, then nodded. Okay, for life. Story 2. My husband had oligospermia, so we decided to try IVF. Before the embryos were synthesized, I caught my husband swapping my eggs for those of his dream lover. I didn't say a word. I just swapped my eggs back. And, while I was at it, I swapped his sperm for my ex-boyfriend's. 25 years later, the dream lover showed up at our door, sobbing with tears streaming down her face. Sweet daughter, I'm your real mother. Chapter 1. Roma and I returned home after our overseas trip to explore a medical collaboration project, only to be stunned by the scene in front of us. A crowd of people, including distant relatives we never usually see, had gathered in our home. It looked like a family meeting of some sort, and anyone who didn't know better might have thought we were hosting a grand reunion. The most striking sight was Ava, sitting in the middle of the living room, crying her eyes out. Lucas, my wonderful husband who was rarely ever home, was sitting beside her, holding her tenderly and comforting her in a soft voice. I raised an eyebrow, placed my suitcase aside, and looked at Lucas. What's the special occasion today? Why so lively? Roma followed behind me, her arms crossed, her face full of disdain as she stared at Ava. She had already started to sense who this woman was. My mother-in-law was sitting at the head of the room, her expression grim, as if she wanted to speak but held herself back. Before Lucas could respond, Ava suddenly lunged towards Roma, her face full of tears, sobbing. My sweet daughter, I'm your real mother. Roma deftly stepped aside, her face filled with disgust. As if Ava were something filthy, she took a step back and spoke coldly. My mother's name is Helen. This girl is truly my little sweetheart. I took Roma's hand and gave her a reassuring look. Then, I raised my hand and slapped Ava across the face. The crisp sound of the slap echoed throughout the living room. Don't go around claiming relations, I said coldly, my eyes sharp as knives. Lucas shot to his feet, rushing to Ava's side to help her up. He pointed at me and shouted angrily. Helen, have you gone mad? How dare you hit Ava? He raised his hand, looking like he was about to hit me. Roma reacted quickly, stepping forward and giving Lucas a slap of her own. You dare hit my mother? Roma's voice wasn't loud, but it carried undeniable authority. Lucas was stunned, both furious and shocked, as he raised his hand to strike Roma. Ava, however, pulled him back, crying with false sincerity. Lucas, don't hit her. She's our daughter. Her act of maternal concern made me feel like vomiting. Lucas lowered his hand, glaring at Roma with rage. If it weren't for your birth mother, I would have taught you a lesson today. Roma sneered. Oh, I'd like to see just what you think you can do. The fierce look in her eyes reminded me so much of my younger self. I felt a surge of satisfaction. This girl truly is the product of my careful upbringing. Chapter 2. An elder in the family cleared his throat, trying to calm the chaotic scene. Everyone, quiet down. His deep voice carried an undeniable authority. Everyone gradually quieted down, their eyes focused on him. He looked at Lucas. Lucas, you called everyone here. What's going on? Lucas took a deep breath. As if mustering the courage, he reached out and put his arm around Ava's shoulder, looking deeply affectionate. Actually, today, I have an important announcement to make. He paused, his gaze sweeping across everyone, finally resting on Roma and me. I watched him silently, wondering what kind of circus act he'd put on this time. Roma, she's not Helen's biological daughter. Lucas's voice wasn't loud, but it was like a bomb exploding in the living room. Roma turned sharply to look at me, her eyes filled with shock. I gestured for her to stay calm. The surrounding relatives began whispering amongst themselves, like sharks that had smelled blood, growing excited and restless. Back then, when we did IVF, Lucas paused, as if the words were hard to say. The doctor said Helen's eggs weren't viable. To spare her feelings about becoming a mother, I used Ava's instead. This idiot not only stole and cheated, but now he's trying to throw dirt on me. Lucas's malicious gaze fell on me, as if waiting for me to lose my temper and lash out. But I remained composed, and he was forced to continue his performance. Today, I've gathered everyone here to bear witness. He looked at Ava with deep affection. For Roma to acknowledge her biological mother, the relatives immediately burst into chatter. Roma isn't Helen's daughter. She should acknowledge her biological mother. That's right, a hen that doesn't lay eggs, holding on to the position of wife for so many years. It's time for her to step down. Helen has held control over the family business all these years, and now that the truth is out, it's time for her to leave the company too. Hearing these comments, I sneered inwardly. These scheming relatives, whom I pushed out of the company's management and left with only annual dividends to profit from, had long held grudges against me. Now, they were happy to see this drama unfold between Lucas and me, hoping it would pave the way for them to return to the company and take a share of the spoils. Roma looked at the greedy eyes of the relatives, her grip on my hand tightening. I said, Roma is my daughter. She will only ever be my child. My voice wasn't loud, but it was firm and resolute. Ava put on a helpless expression, her voice choking with emotion. Sister, how long will you continue to deceive yourself? Chapter 3. I wasn't deceiving myself. Roma truly is my child. Did Lucas and Ava really think they could fool me? Back then, when Lucas was diagnosed with oligospermia, we decided to try IVF. Before the embryos were synthesized, I accidentally caught Lucas and a nurse sneaking around my egg storage locker. I overheard Lucas happily calling Ava, telling her that he had successfully swapped the eggs for hers. I didn't make a scene at the time. I quietly turned around and gave the doctor $1,000,000 to swap the eggs back using the extra ones I had stored. I also kindly asked the doctor to swap Lucas's sperm with that of my ex-boyfriend. On the day the embryos were synthesized, Lucas and I witnessed the miracle together. He was unnaturally happy, probably thinking that it was his and Ava's child. Watching his foolish face, I nearly died of laughter on the inside. All these years, watching him act like a fool, doting on Roma, has been beyond satisfying. He tried to deceive me, but instead, he ended up unknowingly raising someone else's child for over 20 years. Lucas interrupted my thoughts, mocking me. You're just stubbornly denying it. Roma may have been born from you, but the egg wasn't yours. Her biological mother is Ava. My tone was calm, with a hint of provocation. Are you daydreaming? If you don't believe me, let's do a paternity test, Lucas said, resolutely. And I want a divorce. You've treated me like a simp, forcing me into marriage after 25 years with you. I've been more than generous. He had a look of joy when he mentioned divorce. It seemed he had wanted this for a long time. Oh, did he really dare say he had been generous with me? Married to him for 25 years. I might as well have been a widow for 25 years. While I was raising our child alone, he was indulging in romance with Ava, while I fought in the business world to hold up the family name. He was living a lavish life in entertainment venues. But there was one thing he got wrong: I wasn't his simp because I loved him. Marrying him was just a means to gain the title of the young madam and take control of the family business. And now, the company is entirely under my control. So, Lucas is no longer of any use to me. We can divorce. I shrugged indifferently. But there's no need for a paternity test. I'm certain Roma is my child. Roma looked at me, her gaze resolute. Mom, I believe you. Lucas and Ava immediately became anxious. Roma, don't you believe your father? Roma ignored him and stayed close to me. Just then, a young man who looked like a college student burst into the room. He walked straight up to Roma, his face full of excitement, and shouted, "Sister!" Everyone in the room was stunned. It was one thing for another mother to appear out of nowhere. But now, a brother too? Chapter 4. I looked at the boy who bore a resemblance to Ava, and a suspicion began to form in my mind. This must be Lucas and Ava's illegitimate child. They hid it well, 20 years without me finding out. It seemed this drama was even more exciting than I had imagined. My mother-in-law sat at the head, looking at the boy, her demeanor commanding without a word. Lucas, what is going on here? The atmosphere in the living room froze once again. The boy looked on the verge of tears, his eyes red. Sister, my name is Paul. I've always known about you. He spoke hesitantly, his voice trembling slightly. He glanced at me secretly, then quickly lowered his head, as if he was afraid I would scold him. My mom, she often told me about you, said that you were very talented, very beautiful. Ava began to sob at just the right moment, covering her mouth with a handkerchief, her shoulders trembling. Roma, my dear daughter, I've missed you so much all these years. She looked up, her eyes brimming with tears, as if she had suffered greatly. Your brother, he has also missed you all this time. We've often watched you in secret. Paul nodded eagerly, quickly adding, "It's true, sister. I even enrolled in your school, just to be closer to you." He took a stack of photos out of his pocket and carefully handed them to Roma. "These are your photos." I took them secretly. Roma took the stack of photos and quickly flipped through them. There were pictures of her in a graduation gown, smiling brightly, after dance practice, looking tired, during a debate with her classmates, looking animated and full of energy. Roma felt her skin crawl. For all these years, a creep had been lurking near her, spying on her, taking secret pictures of her. Lucas wasn't idle either. He went to my mother-in-law, pointing at Paul, his tone heavy. "Mom, this is your grandson, with all the family members here today to bear witness. You should acknowledge him." Lucas was cunning. He knew that after my father-in-law passed away, it was my mother-in-law who had the final say in the family. He invited all the relatives here to pressure her into acknowledging the boy. He was certain that if my mother-in-law agreed to recognize Paul as part of the family, I would have no argument against it. After all, over the past 25 years, he had noticed my deference and devotion to her. Paul was clever and quickly turned to my mother-in-law, bowing respectfully as he called out, "Grandma." My mother-in-law looked at Paul, then at me, her eyes conflicted, but she didn't respond to Paul's greeting right away. I knew she felt for me, not wanting to make things difficult for her. I broke the awkward silence. "Lucas, having this illegitimate child join the family and inherit the family business is your true goal, isn't it? Why involve Roma in all of this?" Chapter 5. I turned my head to look at Roma, and we exchanged a knowing glance. Even if Roma isn't my biological daughter, she is still the only child under my name, Helen. All of my assets, properties, stocks, funds, including 20% of the family's business shares, will all go to her. Roma, with that in mind, would you rather stay with me, or with your father and this uncertain mother? My little girl caught on quickly, her eyes darting about as she instantly understood my meaning. She immediately threw herself into my arms, her small face rubbing against my arm, and cheerfully said, "Dad now has a brother, and the inheritance won't go to me. Of course, I'll stay with Mom." "Good girl." She directly spoke the objective out loud, just as I had taught her. When Ava heard I was willing to leave all my assets to Roma, Her eyes lit up, brighter than a 1,000-watt light bulb. She knew I had many assets. My wealth in gold, jewelry, and real estate alone wasn't a small sum. Not to mention that 20% of the shares, it was like a mountain of gold. Greed, blatant greed, was written all over her face without a hint of disguise. She leaned over to Lucas's ear and began whispering. When the old man passed away, to maintain a balance, he split his 60% of the group's shares into 4 parts, 20% to Helen, 20% to the old lady, 10% to Roma, and you only got 10% if Helen transfers her shares to Roma, and we later convince Roma to give hers to us. You'll have 40%. The immediate priority is to get Helen to relinquish her shares and assets, get her out with nothing, and then bring Roma over to our side. Lucas thought it over and decided Ava was right. He stepped forward, putting on a loving fatherly act for Roma. Roma, your brother is a boy. He can be self-reliant and won't compete with you for the inheritance. I'm also willing to leave everything to you. He paused and added a condition. On the condition that you go and do a paternity test with Ava. If it shows that you two are biological mother and daughter, then you must acknowledge Ava as your mother and treat her well. Roma sneaked a glance at me, and I gave her a barely perceptible nod. Fine. Roma agreed immediately, but she also cleverly added a condition of her own. However, before we do the paternity test, both parents must come with me to the notary office and transfer all assets unconditionally to my name. I cheered inwardly. This child was truly sharp. What's in your hands is what's real. Never trust verbal promises. Chapter 6. At this point, the relatives who enjoyed stirring up trouble were ecstatic. Whatever Ava could think of, they could think of too. They were rubbing their hands together in anticipation, as if countless treasures were now within their reach. Lucas had no clue about business management. If the company was under his name, wouldn't they be able to manipulate things however they pleased? Great, great. This is how it should be. One relative cheered. I'll contact someone from the notary office right away. Another relative pulled out his phone and started dialing. The group was busy, acting as if they were organizing a celebration. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, watching the chaos, tried to dissuade me out of concern. My dear child, are you sure you want to go ahead with this transfer? You might want to reconsider. I smiled and shook my head, reassuring her. Don't worry, Mom. I know what I'm doing. My mother-in-law always knew how capable I was. Seeing my calm demeanor, she decided not to press further. With their help, all the assets under my and Lucas's names, except for $50,000 each for living expenses, were transferred to Roma's name. In the notary office, Lucas and Ava gazed lovingly at Roma. They seemed to see a future where they would be leading the family business and wielding power. Smiling brightly, I looked at them, lost in their daydream, and then at my daughter, who had just become a billionaire. I smiled as well, but Lucas losing his wealth wasn't enough. I needed to strip Ava down as well. Ava, didn't you say you loved Roma? Shouldn't you show it? I spoke casually, my gaze passing over Ava's carefully crafted no-makeup look. I've spent millions raising Roma for you over the past 20 years. I don't need compensation from you. Just give the money to Roma. After all, I love her more than anything. Roma, quick to catch on, added, Auntie, you've been with my dad for over 20 years. So you must have saved a few million, right? Since we're at the notary office already, why don't you prove your loyalty to me? Otherwise, I might doubt whether you truly love me, and think you're only claiming me for the company behind me. Ava's face stiffened, caught between a rock and a hard place. If she handed over the money, it would hurt. If she didn't, Roma would question her motives for reconnecting. You can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a lamb. Gritting her teeth, Ava pulled a card from her bag and handed it to Roma. Roma, dear. Of course. Mommy loves you. Here's $5 million, it's what I've saved for over 10 years. Roma took the card without hesitation and called the notary personnel over to formalize the transfer immediately. Ava stood beside her, smiling, though her smile was twisted, as if she were being carved up alive. Chapter 7. The testing facility was chosen by Lucas. He was afraid I would manipulate something, so he picked the most authoritative national-level forensic institute. I snorted. thinking he was so clever. After the staff at the testing center collected blood samples from Ava, Roma, and me, I asked them to also collect Lucas's blood for the test. Lucas looked at me in disbelief. Helen, are you crazy? There's no doubt that Roma is my child. I smirked maliciously. Since we're here, let's do it all. Roma, though she didn't understand why I was doing this, knew that I must have a reason. So she threw a tantrum, demanding that Lucas also do a paternity test. Now Lucas treated Roma like a precious treasure, so he agreed to her request. As we left the testing facility, Ava's son Paul showed up late with a bouquet of flowers. Sister, he called affectionately to Roma, offering her the flowers and attempting to hug her. Roma's expression showed utter disgust, as if she had swallowed a fly, and she pushed him away. Don't touch me. This kid was half a head taller than Roma and looked presentable. Roma, he's your brother, Ava quickly urged. A family should love and support each other. Roma rolled her eyes. The test results aren't out yet, so don't start acknowledging family ties. I'll leave you to your family bonding, I said coldly. Lucas, let's go to the civil affairs office now to get the divorce certificate, since neither of us had any assets to our names nor had to negotiate child custody. Lucas and I didn't need to sign any divorce agreement. We simply went to the civil affairs office and obtained the divorce certificate. Ava's eyes widened with excitement. Clearly not expecting that we would divorce so quickly, she thought I would hold on and refuse. But Roma stood firmly by my side, and seeing how close we were, Ava became envious. After Roma went to the parking lot to get the car, Ava finally seized the opportunity to taunt me. Helen, Lucas never loved you. Do you know why Roma is named Roma? Because I chose that name. Lucas hugged Ava with a proud look on his face. When the paternity test results come out, Roma will naturally come back to us. Paul also dropped his act of being meek in front of Roma and became arrogant. Now all the money is my sister's. Once the paternity test results are out, you can expect to end up on the streets. I couldn't be bothered to respond to their foolish taunts. Lucas, not getting any reaction from me, thought everything was in his grasp and showed his true colors. You've controlled the family business for so many years. Now it's my turn to be in charge. So, you really were using Roma to get your hands on the family business. I sneered. And what if I was? Lucas said carelessly. Now that all the assets are transferred to Roma, we just have to wait for the paternity test results. Then, I'll be the master of the company. Well, I'll wait and see if you're that lucky. My gaze turned icy. Chapter 8. They thought they had it all figured out, believing victory was within their grasp. But what they didn't know was that they never stood a chance from the very beginning. While I was in the middle of handing over my responsibilities at the company, Paul showed up and kicked out the general manager, grandly settling himself into the leather chair, crossing his legs, and proclaiming that the chairwoman was his sister, and he was the rightful general manager. Everyone heard this and didn't dare stop him, but I wasn't afraid to put him in his place. Throw him out for me. A few security guards immediately stepped forward to grab Paul. You dare touch me? Paul shot up, pointing his finger at the security guards' faces, shouting, My sister is the chairwoman. I'm her biological brother. You lackeys, try touching me. He continued to hurl insults at me. You bitch. You've already been kicked out of the family. You have no right to command the company employees. He was yelling, shoving the guards, trying to come at me. What utter lawlessness! Just then, Roma arrived. What's going on here? She asked coldly. Sister, you're just in time. Paul immediately switched to a pitiful expression. This old woman wants to have the guards throw me out. This is a company, not a place for you to cause trouble, Roma said coldly, staring at him. Also, I'm not your sister. Roma, how can you talk to your brother like that? Ava arrived as well. You two are real siblings. In the future, your brother will help you manage company affairs. Without family support, as a woman, you'll be taken advantage of. Roma sneered. Throw them both out. Seeing that being soft wouldn't work, Ava began to act out, refusing to let the guards touch her. I'm the wife of Lucas, the heir to this company, and Roma's real mother. This company is mine too, I sneered. Throw them out. Don't dirty the company. The security guards, finally understanding who was in charge, lifted the two oblivious individuals and dragged them out. Ava continued to yell, Helen, just you wait. When the test results come out tomorrow, I'll make you beg on your knees for me to give you a meal. I looked at her disheveled state and said calmly, Don't worry. I've been waiting for the results all along. Chapter 9. Finally, the day Ava had been eagerly waiting for arrived. I made sure to get up early, dress up nicely, and put on some light makeup. After all, I needed to look my best to watch Ava's face when she got slapped with reality. Aside from my mother-in-law, Lucas once again invited all the relatives to the Forensic Institute for the big reveal, probably hoping that more people could laugh at my expense. Ha, naive. He wanted everyone to laugh at me. But in the end, he was the biggest joke. Before seeing the results, I smiled mockingly and asked Lucas, This is the Forensic Institute you personally chose. You won't object to the results, right? Lucas straightened up and said confidently, Of course not. I always keep my word. I almost burst out laughing. He truly wouldn't believe it until he saw it with his own eyes. The examiner hadn't returned yet, and Ava began her performance. She clung to Lucas's arm affectionately, resting her head on his shoulder, speaking in a soft, sweet voice. Lucas, once the results are out, our family of 3 will finally be reunited. As she spoke, she shot me a provocative look. I ignored her completely, turning to look at Roma. Sure enough, Roma also had a cold expression, ignoring Ava's little act. Ava hit a wall and felt a bit awkward, but she quickly adjusted her expression and turned to Roma. I'll be your mother from now on, so if there's anything you want, just let me know. As she spoke, she pulled out a delicate little box from her bag and handed it to Roma. This is a necklace I bought for you, a gift to celebrate our reunion. Do you like it? Roma didn't even glance at it, coldly replying, I don't need it. The smile on Ava's face froze. Lucas hurried to smooth things over. Roma, your mother means well. I don't need her goodwill. Roma interrupted him. I only have one mother, and that's Helen. A surge of warmth filled my heart. My daughter would always stand by my side. At that moment, the examiner returned with 3 copies of the results. Ava, Lucas, and Paul immediately perked up, their eyes fixed on the files in the examiner's hands. Their expressions were like hungry wolves staring at their prey. They looked at me triumphantly, as if I was about to be completely humiliated, and they would finally enjoy wealth and glory. I could hardly hold back my laughter. The examiner opened the envelope, and Ava's breathing became ragged. Her bright red lacquered nails dug tightly into Lucas's arm. Lucas was shaking with excitement. His face flushed, as if he was about to explode at any moment. He was muttering, Roma, we can finally be together as a real family. I noticed that the way he looked at me was as if I was a defeated stray dog. Ava was even more exaggerated, her body trembling slightly. Roma, Mommy has finally proven herself. Paul, the idiot, couldn't wait any longer and walked right up to Roma. Sister, when we get back to the company, you need to appoint me as the general manager right away. I'm your real brother, and only I will truly help you. He said it with such an air of entitlement, as if Roma was guaranteed to help him, and the position of general manager was already in his pocket. I watched the 3 of them making fools of themselves, sneering inwardly, until the last moment. None of them knew who the real clowns were. Chapter 10. The examiner cleared his throat and began reading the results. According to the DNA comparison, MS, Ava and MS, Roma. He paused deliberately, making Ava and Lucas even more tense, stretching their necks as if they wanted to press their ears right up to the examiner's mouth. The surrounding relatives also held their breath, each with different expressions, waiting to see me humiliated. Are not related as mother and daughter. The air seemed to freeze. Lucas's eyes widened, and he screamed hysterically, as if he had lost his mind. Impossible! There must be a mistake. Ava also shrieked. How can this be? How could there be no relationship? Her face instantly turned pale, and her carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her horror. Are you farsighted or something? Let me see. Paul snatched the report, and after seeing the result, He collapsed onto the chair, mumbling, "How could this happen?" I asked the examiner to read my and Roma's paternity test report. According to the DNA comparison, Helen and Roma are biological mother and daughter. There was an uproar all around. Lucas looked like he had been struck by lightning. "Impossible," he muttered in shock. Seeing the confused expressions on Roma, my mother-in-law, and the others, I kindly explained, "I saw you messing around back then, so I switched my egg back." As I watched his face turn increasingly ugly, I continued, "Oh, and by the way, I also swapped your sperm for that of my ex-boyfriend." The entire room fell into stunned silence, and my mother-in-law jerked her head up, her cloudy eyes filled with shock. I looked at Lucas and said word by word, "Roma is not your child. Congratulations. You've been raising someone else's kid for over 20 years. Hearing this, Lucas snatched his and Roma's paternity report from the examiner. After seeing the result, his eyes turned bloodshot, and he lunged at me, shouting, "You bitch!" The bodyguard behind me reacted quickly, grabbing him and forcefully shoving him to the ground. I looked down at him from above, my gaze icy cold. Hearing the news, Ava seemed to grab onto it like a lifeline, throwing herself at Lucas and screeching, "Lucas, if Roma isn't yours, then she's not part of your family. The only heir can be Paul." Her bright red nails were nearly digging into Lucas's flesh. Lucas, realizing the situation, suddenly raised his head, his eyes flashing with cruelty. He stumbled to his feet and walked over to the mother-in-law, who was still too stunned to react. "Mom, everyone, you all heard and saw it. Roma is not my child." He pointed at me, spitting in anger, his voice hoarse as he shouted, "She's the bastard of Helen and her ex-boyfriend. We can't let the family's assets fall into the hands of an outsider." Ava and Paul joined in, shouting, "Yes, kick that little bitch Roma out. The family heir can only be me." Chapter 11. The usually composed my mother-in-law had already recovered from the shock. She completely ignored Lucas, her expression complex and difficult for others to understand. With an uncharacteristic vulnerability, her voice trembling, she asked me, "Helen, is it true?" Seeing her like that, tears suddenly welled up in my eyes. "It's true." Lucas, dissatisfied with my mother-in-law's reaction, shook her hand. "Mom, hurry. Announce that Paul is the heir." My mother-in-law, now collected, brushed his hand aside and asked calmly, "Do you know who Helen's ex-boyfriend is?" Lucas scratched his head in frustration. "What does it matter who it is? Roma isn't part of our family anyway. Helen's ex-boyfriend was your older brother, Oliver. So Roma is still part of the family and is the only rightful heir." My mother-in-law's words landed like a bomb among the crowd. The family tradition back then, as everyone knows, only allows legitimate children of the first branch to inherit the family's business. Only if that branch ceases to exist do illegitimate children have a claim. My mother-in-law fixed a sharp gaze on Lucas, warning him, "After Oliver's accident, the old man had no choice but to bring you back. Lucas, do not forget your place." Lucas's face turned deathly pale as he was reminded of his true status by my mother-in-law. Lucas was named by his mother, a woman who was never truly acknowledged. When my father-in-law was young, he was tricked by a secretary, and Lucas was born from that. But the family valued pure bloodlines, and not just any child could enter the family. The only child he acknowledged was Oliver, born to him and my mother-in-law, who came from an educated family. Apart from paying child support, my father-in-law never looked at Lucas. But fate was unpredictable, and the heir that my father-in-law had carefully nurtured, Oliver, had an accident while inspecting a company site, which left him in a vegetative state. With no other choice, my father-in-law turned his attention to Lucas. He proposed a condition: if Lucas wanted to return to the family, he had to marry me, as my father had saved my father-in-law's life. Lucas had no affection for me and had always loved his dream girl, so he was unwilling to marry me. However, he was also well aware of the benefits of returning to the family. So when he noticed I seemed to admire him, he agreed to marry me. Ava initially looked down on Lucas, who was penniless. But when he suddenly became the son of a wealthy family, she agreed to be his mistress. Lucas, to be fair, remained devoted to Ava. The reason we did IVF, apart from his oligospermia, was because he wanted to remain faithful to Ava and wouldn't touch me at all. The two of them thought they would wait until my father-in-law passed away to take over the family estate. But they didn't expect that he would have one final trick up his sleeve. He split his shares into 4 parts, ensuring that we would counterbalance each other, and appointed me as the chairwoman of the group, barring Lucas from taking any position in the company. That's why Lucas could only rely on annual dividends from his shares, and he remained bitter all these years without being able to gain control. I don't believe Roma is my brother's child. Why should we just accept Helen's word for it? Lucas was still making his last desperate attempt. Chapter 12. I looked at him with a mocking smile and pulled another paternity report from my bag. This is the paternity test report between Roma and Oliver. I opened the report and displayed it to everyone. If you still don't believe it, that's fine. Oliver is lying in a nursing home, and Roma is right here. We can request a national-level testing agency to conduct a new on-site sampling and verification. Roma is of the family bloodline. I believe everyone will be convinced. Ava and her son were dumbfounded. They had never imagined that Roma was actually Oliver's child. My mother-in-law appeared as calm and composed as ever, but there was a fleeting glimmer of tears in her eyes. The relatives began murmuring amongst themselves. So Roma is Oliver's child. That means Roma is the rightful heir of the family. Looks like Lucas, the illegitimate son, has no chance of taking over the family's wealth. Their eyes, now filled with disdain, turned towards Lucas. Lucas looked like all the energy had been drained from him. He collapsed to the ground, his eyes vacant. Not only did he fail to make Roma acknowledge Ava, but he had also given her all the assets. Ava and her son looked just as deflated, like wilting eggplants. The relatives had seen enough to understand that Lucas was no match for me. There was no benefit in following Lucas, and so they all got up and left in a hurry. Lucas stared at me, and after a moment of thought, as if swallowing his pride, he got up and walked over to me with a flattering expression. Helen, I know you love me. You're just mad at me for fooling around outside, aren't you? I promise I'll break things off with Ava. Please, let me come back home. I looked at him, filled with pity, and slowly spoke. Lucas, you're wrong. I never loved you. His face instantly turned pale. What did you say? His lips trembled. Then why? Why did you always gaze at me so intently? And why were you so insistent on marrying me? I explained coldly. I looked at you because you resembled Oliver. Seeing your face was a small comfort. I married you to protect Oliver's family legacy. You became the substitute young master after Oliver's accident, and I needed the title of daughter-in-law to gain entry into the family business and keep the collateral branches from seizing power. You must be wondering why Oliver was my ex-boyfriend, why my father-in-law would rather entrust me with the company than you, his biological son, and why my mother-in-law has treated me like a daughter all these years. You weren't around as a child, so you wouldn't know, even though I grew up in the countryside. My father-in-law brought me here every summer and winter break as a token of gratitude for my father's life-saving help. Oliver and I grew up together and were already in love. My mother-in-law treated me like her own daughter, and my father-in-law raised me to be Oliver's supportive partner, giving me the same elite education as him. I laughed heartily, as if watching a fool. It's ridiculous that you thought I was just a country girl who climbed her way into a rich family because of my father's favor. And even more foolish, you thought I loved you? Chapter 13. Lucas stood there as if struck by lightning, frozen in place. He had always believed that I loved him deeply, but now, he realized that he was nothing more than a pitiful stand-in. Everything he had was built upon a lie, and now, that lie has been exposed. He had nothing left. Lucas was completely broken. We had all been playing a role, acting for 25 years. Now that the play was over, it was time for the curtain to fall. I instructed the housekeeper to pack Lucas's things and throw him out of the house. Mom, I recently collaborated on a project with a foreign medical institution. It's about stimulating neural activity in coma patients to promote awakening. Then my mother-in-law suddenly looked up, a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. Are you saying? I nodded. Oliver has already undergone several treatment sessions, and his brainwave activity is very strong. The doctors say he will wake up soon. My mother-in-law was overjoyed, tears streaming down her face. Oliver, my Oliver. Meanwhile, Lucas, having been thrown out of the house, stumbled down the street like a stray dog. 25 years of false prosperity had collapsed in an instant. He returned to the apartment he had once bought for Ava, but Ava wasn't exactly welcoming. It's all your fault. Now we have nothing. Lucas turned sharply, his eyes bloodshot. My fault? If you hadn't swapped the eggs back then, would we be in this situation? Ava was stunned. She hadn't expected Lucas to place all the blame on her. You agreed back then too. Lucas grabbed her arm violently, his grip frightening. Shut up. What's the point of talking about it now? We're broke. Do you understand? How are we supposed to live on just 50,000? Ava struggled, wrenching her arm free. Then, what do? We can't just go get regular jobs. Can we? Lucas let go, defeated. Exactly. What now? He was used to a life of luxury, used to being adored by everyone. Now, he had nothing. Suddenly, Ava remembered something. 500,000. Roma still has the 500,000 I gave her. Lucas's eyes lit up. Let's go. Let's find Roma. The two of them stumbled their way to Roma's apartment. They rang the doorbell for what seemed like forever before Roma slowly opened the door. Seeing them, there was no surprise on her face. What are you doing here? Ava pushed Roma aside and barged into the room. Give me my money back. Roma sneered. Why should I? Ava pointed at Roma, trembling with rage. That money is mine. Roma walked over to the sofa, sat down, and crossed her legs. Lady, that 500,000 was officially notarized as an unconditional gift to me. So, I don't need to give it back to you. Ava's vision went dark. You. She pointed at Roma, stammering but unable to form a complete sentence. Suddenly, a sharp pain gripped her chest. Her vision went black, and she collapsed. Lucas was terrified. Ava! He rushed over, holding Ava, screaming desperately. Roma watched the scene, and out of a sense of decency, called 911. Then, as if nothing had happened, she went back to reading her book. Chapter 14. Lucas and Ava blamed each other after failing to get the money. When the 50,000 ran out, Lucas had no money left. Ava wasn't about to spend the only tens of thousands she had left to support Lucas, so she pushed him to find a job or else she'd kick him out as well. Later, I kindly made a call to a headhunter and arranged a job for Lucas. Some time after that, I invited Roma to join me for dinner. On the way to the restaurant, I was humming a tune. Roma asked me why I was so happy. I said it was because there was a good show coming up. In the private room on the second floor of the open kitchen restaurant, Roma watched through the transparent glass. She saw Lucas, who had never lifted a finger for domestic work, now dressed in a chef's uniform, cooking at the restaurant downstairs. She raised an eyebrow at me. Is that it? Of course not. Just keep watching. I smiled and told her to be patient. A moment later, we saw Ava enter the restaurant with a handsome man with a nice physique. The two of them were laughing and joking, looking very close. Lucas obviously saw them too, and his expression froze instantly. Ava? What are you doing here? Ava completely ignored him, continuing to flirt with the man. Lucas's voice grew louder. Ava, I'm asking you a question. Ava finally looked up impatiently, glancing at him with disdain. What do you think I'm doing? Obviously, I'm here to eat. Are you blind? Lucas pointed at the man. You and him. Ava suddenly laughed, her laughter full and unrestrained. What's wrong with me and Kevin? Is it bothering you? Lucas's face turned beet red. He's my boyfriend. What? Is that a problem? Lucas stumbled back a few steps. Boyfriend? You actually what? Ava looked at him with a taunting smile. Let me tell you, Lucas, I've been with Kevin for over 20 years. All the money you gave me, I spent it on him. She paused, then added, and also, Paul is Kevin's son, not yours. The color drained from Lucas's face as if his soul had been sucked out. He stared at Ava, his eyes filled with disbelief and despair. Kevin, standing to the side, let out a mocking laugh. Buddy, there's a whole grassland growing on your head. Lucas felt like his world had completely collapsed. The woman he loved had betrayed him. His son wasn't even his. More than 20 years of effort had all been for nothing but a joke. Then he returned to his workstation, grabbed a knife, and rushed back, lunging at Ava like a madman, stabbing her while screaming hysterically, "You bitch! You ruined me! You ruined everything!" Ava let out a piercing scream, blood instantly staining her clothes red. Chapter 15. Roma watched in horror as the bloody incident unfolded before her eyes. While I calmly sipped my tea, the police arrived quickly and took Lucas away. Roma, in a daze, asked me, "Mom, was this the show you wanted me to see?" I put down the teacup and, with seriousness, taught her, "Roma, today I'm teaching you not to show mercy to your enemies." Lucas and the others tried to take the inheritance. Kicking him out of the house would have been enough. Why be so cruel? Roma didn't understand. Because when your father was injured at the construction site, it wasn't an accident. Lucas was the one who manipulated him into going there. And the out-of-control truck was sabotaged by Ava, who cut the brakes. I tried to stay calm, but my voice still carried hatred. To this day, I can't forget how I felt when I saw Oliver covered in blood. For these 25 years, I wanted to kill Lucas and Ava every single day, but I held back because I wanted them to destroy each other. Lucas's job as a chef was arranged by me so that he would have easy access to a knife. Ava was lured there by me. Her lover was a club worker, and I had the madam give him 2 vouchers for this restaurant at a fixed time. The seats were right in front of Lucas, so he couldn't avoid seeing them. Ava was taken to the hospital but, in the end, didn't survive. Later, I heard Roma say that Paul, without Ava's money, couldn't sustain himself. He ended up doing the same thing as his real father, working at the club. One time, when Roma and her friends went out to have fun, one of her friends even booked him. How ironic. Days passed, and life seemed to return to normal. But a phone call from the hospital broke that apparent tranquility. The doctor said that Oliver had woken up. I could hardly believe my ears. After 25 years, he had finally woken up. I took Roma and Grandma to the hospital immediately. In the room, Oliver lay quietly on the bed, his face pale but his eyes clear and lucid. When he saw me, he smiled faintly. "Helen, how have you grown old?" My nose stung, and tears began to flow. "You slept for a long time," I choked. "We've all been waiting for you for so long." I pointed to the door where Grandma and Roma were waiting their turn to come in. Oliver's gaze fell on Roma, and he asked who she was. I confessed that she was our daughter, born through IVF. He was stunned for a moment, but accepted it calmly, looking at Roma with a touch of affection in his eyes. He asked what our daughter's name was. I answered, "Her name is Roma." Oliver smiled and said softly, "Roma, what a beautiful name."